you got a vacation planned as a real estate agent, you should probably cancel it right now until July. I mean,
July would be a fine time. July,
yeah,
the first week of July.
I mean, I take that year off every year strategically for that week off every year strategically for a reason. These folks that like, I mean, I get like things come up, but this is it. This is the window to make up for everything that's happened so far this year. If you're not getting educated about current market conditions, whether you're in insurance, finance, mortgages, title, or obviously real estate, you're doing yourself and your client base a disservice. This is the Knowledge Brokers Podcast. I'm here with Byron Lazine and Lisa Chinatti. I'm Tom Toole. And for the first week since maybe we started doing this show, Byron, it seems like things are kind of moving along without some sort of volatile bad message or bad piece of news that everyone's freaking out about. We've seen inventory bubble up a little bit. We've seen good news about pricing. Rates have kind of settled in, and it seems more normal than ever in 2023. Your thoughts?
Yeah, it feels like we're finally into that spring market. How long it will last, none of us really know. We've got Jerome Powell, he's going to be speaking next week, so he could completely just destroy everything. Or he could, maybe throw us an assist and help guide us through the spring market. But yeah, inventory up big. So that number was, I believe it was over 8,000 homes. Yeah, active listings rose by 8,546, according to Housing Wire's market tracker earlier in the week. And new listings were also up, which was the big data point because we haven't seen that yet. So new listings for the week were at 59,926, almost matching new listings for the same week in 2022 at 60,000 plus. We've seen a 10 or 15,000 new listing gap week over week from 2023 to 2022 up until this point. So the gap on new listings closed considerably. I know Lisa's point a couple pods ago was that, maybe we're just starting to see those new listings come on now that wanted to list, got pause during the Easter holiday and all of that. Totally could happen, which is why, like, when we come on next Friday, if we see 2 weeks of active listings going up, 2 weeks of new listings going up, then we're going to be able to take a sigh. If we see them drop back down and we haven't actually found our bottom, that's going to be really confusing. This is a really complex market. We're already into May. By next week, when we're at, next Friday, that's going to be, by the way, that's going to be Cinco de Mayo. So maybe we will be having a little beverage during that pod. I don't know, but the Cinco de Mayo pod, you should have already hit bottom by then on active listings. So next week's going to be really telling on where we're at. And every single market's a little bit different. NAR put out their number this week, and the only region that had month over month increases in pending sales was the South and the Southeast. Northeast down over 8%. The West down over 8%. The Midwest down over 10% on pending sales from February to March. So we're not talking about inventory anymore, talking about these pending sales. That to me was like, whoa. Usually you will see pending sales go up February to March. Not the case in almost every market across the country. Lisa, your thoughts on inventory and then just where pending sales are heading?
Well, I think there's a direct correlation, right? I think that the interesting thing is I think the buyer demand is there to create a pending sale increase. It's just the continual lack of inventory is what is pushing down on the pendings. And it's tough because I think the interesting thing is despite the decreasing pendings, prices are increasing. And at least up here, right, in Massachusetts, which is kind of
across the country.
Most of the country, yeah. And that's a bit of an anomaly. You don't typically see decreasing pendings with increasing prices. It's fascinating. I think
that's why the market's so complex, because you'll see, stats and measurements that are contradicting each other.
Yes, in so many different buckets, right? Like you can look at like what should happen when interest rates increase at the rate that they did, and that didn't happen, right? Prices, affordability actually got worse for most buyers. I think, a lot of the conversations that we're having with our agents are talking about the buyers that chose to step out of the market last year and the reality check that they're having as they come back into the market, that what $700,000, $800,000 could buy last year, man, there's a lot of disappointment about what $700,000 and $800,000 buys this year, which is, when you add in the interest rates and the impact of that increase, it's crazy.
Tom, what do you say to somebody coming back into the market like Lisa's talking about, where they're day one back into the market and they're instantly frustrated with the market because, to Lisa's point, they're thinking backwards of the experience that they had the first time they were in the market and the opportunities they lost? What should the knowledge broker say when they get reintroduced to this client and they're back out on showings and they can just see the frustration on day one?
What they shouldn't say is "I told you so." Let's just lead with that, because there's some agents that they want to be right in these situations, and you want to be the one that sells them the house or helps them sell their house. So don't say that. Number one, let's just edit yourselves there. Like, congratulations for being right. It's not going to make anyone feel any better, and I think that's really important because you're going to piss a lot of people off. With that in mind, what they should say is, "Hey, here's what's going on." And Byron, we've had this conversation so many times. Lisa, you as well. Where here's what's happening. Here's the latest data. Here's the trends I'm seeing. And hey, I hear you. The market can be a little frustrating for people. I get it. So just out of curiosity, what's your backup plan here if you don't buy this time? And get their motivation down, because when you get in these real estate transactions, they get highly emotional. People get highly frustrated. They get so worked up. And when you bring it back to the motivation every single time, backed up with data, backed up with facts, because that's how you really help people, it's going to keep the buyer or the seller on course. And I think that's so critical right now. That's one of my first coaching moments that I remember from hiring a coach, was bring it back to the motivation and things will calm down a little bit, because the market's going to be the market. Rates have settled in now. I think it's very clearly, until our boy Jerome Powell, Byron's BFF, starts speaking next week, we're going to see rates kind of, I've been seeing 6 1/8 to like 6 1/2. They've been bouncing back and forth. That's kind of been where they are. So the good news is they've stabilized. We're not seeing this volatility where they're up a point, they're down a point on a 14-day period. So that's good news for buyers. Then you want to look at, okay, you're worried about rates. There's companies out there like Tomo Mortgage that offers a 120-day rate lock with no agreement of sale. So you've got to have that in your back pocket if they can qualify there. It's really about, hey, here's the facts, here's the market, here's what I expect to happen later. What's going to be the best move for you and your household? And when you approach it like that and ask them what they want to do after presenting the data, instead of telling them, no one likes to be told things. When you ask the right questions based on facts and data and knowledge, that's where you become a real knowledge broker and can help people.
Yeah, I don't like to be told things either, but Lisa tends to do that in our text group all the time.
And I might always be right.
She didn't need to dress up for work, but she has a presentation today, and all of a sudden looks like she's ready to go on a listing appointment.
Yeah,
it sounds like do as I say, not as I do.
That's right. That's, but you can't say that, Tom. You're gonna offend too many people. You can't say those things. All right. So applications were also up. So it's like we're checking it was like a good week if we're looking at the market.
I agree.
Mortgage applications were up. Again, we need a second week of applications up to continue to really feel confident about what May is going to look like. We had mortgage delinquency rates decrease from February to March. Another good indicator that we have strong borrowers out there and that we're not going into anything similar to 2008. So it's just about, to me, having this second week, this reaffirming of the data that we had this week to tell me that, yeah, we are going to be able to make some hay in May. And it's all about these next few months for the knowledge broker to really make their year, like the 40-50% of their year, I think, is made up in these next 90 days.
Solidly.
It's go time.
Yeah.
I don't want to jump ahead here, but these people, like, if you got a vacation plan as a real estate agent, you should probably cancel it right now until July.
July would be a fine time. The first week of July.
I take that year off every year strategically for a reason. these folks that like, I mean, I get like things come up, but this is it. This is the window to make up for everything that's happened so far this year because there's going to be a lot of intent. And I think more importantly than anything else, and I saw this article a couple weeks ago, like sellers have been afraid of the volatility because if they sell their home and they got to buy something and rates jump up, they're in a tough spot. Buyers don't like volatility, but the sellers especially because they got these 3 and 4% interest rates if they're moving. That's 65% of the country. So this is what people have been waiting for. So you've got to buckle down and strap on your suit and whatever, or your dress in Lisa's case, if you want to actually close some business.
Whoa.
Go out there and do and do what you're supposed to do. I mean, this is go time.
I've only worn a dress one other time in the past 18 months, just fully for the record. This is completely an anomaly.
Is that a dress? I thought it was.
Well, wait, hang on. I don't know if I can like get this in full picture. Ready? It is straight up a dress. It's awful.
Wow, I've never seen this. I've never seen this. But so the age demo, I just want to prove a point here. The age demo you're going to speak to, Lisa, is?
I'm going to the senior center to do a downsizing seminar. So there.
All of a sudden, Lisa wants to dress professional. She's talking to seniors who expect a certain level of professionalism.
Yeah, they do.
When a presenter walks in.
Yeah, look, my rebuttal to this is that I'm making the decision to dress this way. It's not that anybody told me to.
Yeah, of course.
And I think that if somebody, just like you guys said, no, you don't want to be told what to do, right? And no. I want to win.
That's right. And so, hey, I think this is a unique opportunity that many knowledge brokers might be sleeping on, not thinking about. You're going to I'm assuming this is an assisted living?
No, it's seminar? Actually it's a downsizing seminar at a local senior center. So it's like the rec center. It's not assisted living. They're not living there. They actually all own homes, but it's like the center in the community.
They're thinking about that process of what that would look like.
Correct. Yep.
So I used to go into the assisted living, the like really fancy ones that have like gyms and restaurants and card rooms and all these things. And we would do these seminars, and people are coming there who want to move there. So they already know the location of where they want to move. And guess what? These senior assisted living facilities, the really fancy ones, there is inventory there's typically a waiting list and stuff like that. So people are like going there, getting on the waiting list, but it's not like, they're really just waiting for somebody to move along and that opens up the inventory. But the likely scenario of that happening month over month is high in those places. So getting in there and then educating the people who, like Lisa's going to do at a senior center, but educating the people at assisted living facilities who want to get in there is a good idea. Hey, here's what the market looks like. A lot of them, if they've owned a home for 30 years, 40 years, I just bought a house, the end of last year up in Connecticut for someone who owned their home 45 years and went into one of these assisted living facilities. They don't even know what the market looks like for them. They've owned the home so long. Why would they be following the data? Why would they be following the prices? And so a lot of them get sticker shock, to the positive. Whoa, I can get that much for my home. And it makes that dream of going into the facility or downsizing to something in a great location that they've thought about for a long time now an instant reality because, they're cashing significant equity.
Yeah, 100%. And I think it's not only do they not know how much equity they have and how much money they could potentially take out of their home, I think often it's overwhelming to think about what was involved with the process, right? If you've lived in your home for 30 years, think about all of the belongings that you've acquired, and all of that needs to be handled or packed up or, moved. And then there's also, if they're moving to Naples or down to Florida, how do you coordinate all of these moving parts? Because these are folks that aren't going to go into temporary housing and they can't be homeless.
And in your market right now, for everyone listening, whether you're an attorney or, the knowledge broker, the agent, really anybody dealing with housing, there is going to be a company in your market that is specializing in that transition. Okay. And so the transition of downsizing, they create the new floor plan, what you can keep, what you can't keep, all these different things. And partnering with them and having them as one of your go-to vendors is a really good idea because they've done it. They run the estate sale. There's a company in Connecticut I used to partner with. We still do partner with them, Caring Transitions, and they handle that whole process. So find out what it is in your market and make that, create that relationship today. And you'll actually find a whole bunch of relationships through that partnership.
Well,
Yeah.
Lisa, when we were down in Tom's office, Tom Ferry's office, brainstorming how to bring massive listings to the market, the biggest pain point for people was getting the home ready, clearing out 30 years of stuff. And even if you go on YouTube and search like what sellers are wondering about, that's one of the top concerns that they have. And
Right.
the knowledge broker, if you're really looking to attract some of this business, we were testing out this yesterday, and we were looking at like what are some headlines for ads that we would run, or what are some things we'd want to look at to attract those people, and things like stress-free downsizing. Um, you know, upgrade your living space, get rid of stairs, make downsizing a breeze. That sort of language is going to be way more attractive than, hey, we can get you a great price for your house for these people, because they're
Yeah.
concerned about the process. They've been in these homes 30, 40, 50 years, and they've held on to them, which is great. They've made massive equity, but that's a big undertaking, and it can take years to get out of a home that you've been in that long, with all the stuff the kids leave and the family brings and things that need to get fixed. So, Byron, I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, if you really want to lean into getting and playing the long game and looking to attract listings as the knowledge broker, mastering that process and knowing who to refer and how to make it easy would be a major market differentiation point.
Yeah. I think
Yeah. Not
it's,
only like who to refer, but having that relationship. The knowledge broker, it starts with the data. It starts with knowing your market better than anybody else. But then it's the next level, that those agents in any market that you can point to that are like, wow, they get so many listings. They've gone to the next level with the relationships. They've spent time with these people, lunches, coffees, wining and dining, maybe, showing up at a picnic with these individuals. And it's so strong. And the company that I mentioned in Connecticut, the owner was a former vet was a vet and started this company. And he, I created a great relationship with him, but I used to actually go to the property when he would be, figuring out what stays and what goes. And then I would actually go to the property during the day he was removing stuff. I've done an open house during an estate sale. You talk about these mega open houses where hundreds of people, do an estate sale where you're selling 25-cent trinkets, and you're going to have every Tom, Dick, and Harry in your market walking through that house and be able to hand out a bunch of flyers. I was also at a property, talk about great social content. This is like probably even before Instagram. He was craning out of the property a $275,000 piece of art. It was like I don't know, it was like a dinosaur foot or some nonsense. It was like an artifact, like this big clay thing, and he had to lift it out of the home. And, you just spend time there and create these deep relationships that are going to bear fruit in the future. For anybody that's going to be in this thing for the next 5, 10, 15 years, these are the relationships that are so important to start to create. It doesn't happen. Listen, it doesn't happen by handing somebody your business card. I'm so sick of this. People thinking
Get
that
the number.
a relationship starts with handing your business card. You haven't even begun. That's not even 1% of the equation. Oftentimes when I'm handed a business card, it immediately goes into the trash bucket the minute the person turns around, because you've created a job for me to input your data into my CRM that I don't want. I don't want that job. You hand a business card and walk away, I think you're an asshat. I'm just not going to respect that move. So don't worry about the business card. Worry about creating a deep relationship, finding commonalities, and then using those commonalities and those mental notes or notes that you've taken in your phone as the opportunity for the follow-up. Just
yeah.
like you would with a client.
Well, they are clients, right? Like that. I think that that's how you have to look at it, though. Is anybody that you're willing to give a business card to is a client of some level, and it's all relationships. Business cards are not that.
No, business cards are not that. All right. So we kind of went off path there, but I think that was a valuable segment for, again, knowledge brokers, attorneys, anybody consulting people in the housing industry. Certainly value there, and maybe something you're not thinking about with the seniors. And thanks to Lisa putting a dress on for the first time in 18 months, we were able to bring you that segment. So, Tom,
There's
where do
some
we want to
value
go
in
next on the
what you're
on
talking
housing
about here,
work?
and I want to give a case study real quick. And this happened to me over the weekend because people like, and I use business cards to pick my teeth sometimes. So I'm with you, Byron. I think that's a good use for them, especially if you get the glossy ones. But if you're in the arena and like people like they're gonna know you're a real estate agent if you're doing your job, right? Like people always ask like how's work, what's going on. So if they want to talk about real estate, they're going to talk to you about it. If they don't, they're not going to. And if you can just give some sort of data and some sort of piece of value to folks that's actually valuable, that's way better than a business card. So I had a neighbor approach me when I'm walking my dog over the weekend, asked me like, what's going on with this home up the street? And I told him my take on it. And there was another home the next street over that sold. And I shot them an email, and not to be invasive, just, hey, Karen, here's what happened with this house, blah, blah, blah. We talked about this on the follow-up webinar. And
As promised per
yeah,
our conversation of the little poodle walk.
yeah, and it's a French bulldog. But
Yeah.
it's
Real tough dog.
Byron loved the dog. Lisa saw the reaction.
Psychotic.
But literally, hey, this home was listed at X. It sold in 3 days. Reinforces my take on the place up the street. Have an awesome day. Just following up as promised. Nothing crazy. They then write back and say, hey, we might want to buy this house, and we have a meeting. Just because, and I've met these people in my yard. Like it's not, we haven't been living there that long, but giving one piece of market data that makes it look like you know what you're talking about and sending it to them in a professional manner instead of saying, here's my business card, I live across the street. That wins, right? They got kids that are downsizing or upsizing. One of them just had a baby. Like there's business to be done there, but I just made myself look competent. Any agent can do this. You look in the MLS, you send a piece of data and you follow up with them and you make it casual and use some of those Phil Jones magic words. You're good to go. This isn't rocket science here.
Yeah, it's just a cop out, the whole card thing. So, what are we looking for as we go into next week? We're looking for Jerome Powell not to completely blow things up. The market's priced in. Tom, I believe the market's priced in a 25 basis point hike. Is that still the?
I'm
usually
looking
look that up
this
for
up
us.
now. Yeah,
all right, look that up. I think that's what the market's priced in. One more 25 basis point hike. Typically, when that's happened recently, you've actually seen in the next 3 or 4 days. We can't say that this will happen, but we've seen the 10-year drop immediately. Like 3 or 4 days after Powell talks, even though they're bumping up, you see the 10-year drop, and you've actually seen the 30-year drop. That's happened quite a bit during these increases. And then about a week later, you see the 10-year go back up and those interest rates go back up. So potentially you can't go out there, and this is not what the knowledge broker should do. Go out there and tell your clients that, hey, we'll be at 6.25, on the average 30-year. If you're at 6.5, this, wherever you're at in your local market, you can't say you're going to be at 0.25% lower at the end of next week after Jerome Powell, but you should be watching it every day. And there may be an opportunity to get a lower rate at the end of next week, depending on what happened. Tom, what did you get that number? What the
90.0% that we see a 25 basis point increase according to the CME group. So
there you go. So that's probably what we'll see. And it should be hopefully the last interest rate hike. And then there's a lot of thoughts that they'll start dropping before the end of the year.
That's what they're talking about. I mean, we'll see. I do agree. It feels like the market already priced that in, because a couple of weeks ago we saw rates in like that 6 1/8, 6.25 range, and they've been pretty steady around 6.5. At least what I'm seeing with our local lenders that we use here and our lending partners. So it feels like they've already priced it in, and I like that the market's pricing it in, because it creates certainty for buyers and stability in the market, which will give people more confidence in making real estate decisions.
It's going to give them the stability, and you can also point to with with all the volatility we experience in the rate, if this is the final increase and now we're getting on the other side of things, for anybody that's like getting advice from, their Uncle Bud, hey, wait for the foreclosures. They're about to come out, kiddo. Just wait for these foreclosures. Freddie Mac just reported this week that single family serious delinquency rate in March was 0.62%, which is down 0.65% from 6.5 percent in February. Okay, we have a chart. We'll put it up. Bobby, you can put that chart up. That shows we're like at near all-time low. Before the pandemic, we were at 0.6%. So we're basically back there. 2010, this number was 4.2%. So this is nothing like the GFC. For everybody waiting for, when you get that objection from a buyer, I'm waiting for the foreclosures. The foreclosures are coming. My uncle's bought and sold 2 times in the last 40 years. He tells me the foreclosures are coming. Go tell your Uncle Bud to stick it, because here's the real information. You're not going to see foreclosures come anytime soon. Here's
No
the
shot.
chart. Here's the date. It's just infuriating, right? And so I think the common sense person would be able to, when you explain this to them, saying, hey, we're now on the other side of these rate hikes. Throughout all of this volatility, we did not see foreclosures or mortgage delinquencies go up. The borrower is strong. The overall market is pretty strong. And, depending on what you're looking at, but considering all things, I'd say pretty strong outside of inventory, of course. And we are not seeing foreclosures or delinquencies. And that, by the way, that delinquency number includes forbearance. If you pull forbearances out, it's actually even lower. And we know what happens with forbearances. They typically catch up on their loan. So, really strong on delinquencies right now. And it's only going to get stronger with a strong job market and as we start to lower rates.
Well,
Why would you not pay your mortgage with the equity you have?
Well, and that's the point. I mean, there's you could sell the house before you get delinquent on your mortgage. Like that's worst case scenario, because we've seen 10% appreciation in 2020, 10% appreciation in 21, and a more normal, 3, 5, 6, whatever number you're going to look at, and where you're located in 22. It's silly. And the people that are behind, you just you talk to the bank, a knowledge broker approaches them and says, hey, get your equity out of the home and just sell it. It's not going to happen. And lending standards are much stricter. That's the reality. So Uncle, what were you calling him? Uncle Buck? That guy can shove it.
Uncle Bud.
Bud,
Uncle,
not Buck.
Uncle Bud.
Great movie.
Uncle Bud, who drinks Bud Lights.
Bud Light. I have nothing to say.
Not the Bud Heavies.
Bud Lights. Let's just keep the show going here, Lisa. What do you think about this?
About the Bud Light or about the foreclosures?
No Bud Light. But we're a Bud Light free show. We're not talking about it. Keep going.
I think much the same. I think there's too much equity for the average home. Nobody's going to walk away from, as much equity as sitting in up here in our price points. We're talking 6 figures of equity. People aren't going to just walk away from it. And it's, even if they need to sell fast, right, and close fast, the potential still exists to do it without tanking values, because the buyer demand is just so high.
Yeah,
it is what it is, right?
Yeah. So next week, we want to see basically all of the same data points we saw this week. We want to see 2 weeks in a row of these data points. Tom, what do you want to leave knowledge brokers with as we head into this weekend? We don't know what the data is going to come in at. So what are we focused on this weekend?
What I want to see happen next week is Jerome Powell not to stick his foot in his mouth. Number one, I think that we can pray for this one here. I'm a born and raised Catholic, so I'll be going to church this weekend to pray for that. Probably not, but more
sure you won't be.
Yeah, there's no shot. What I want to see this weekend is more inventory. I looked at our local numbers, and this is a week where we've seen the most new inventory come to the market. We're close to 800 new homes, which has been the biggest week we've seen in Philadelphia and the 4-county area outside. That's what I want to see more of. I want to see more sellers listing their homes. I want to see more buyers that are realizing you got to let the market play out. We talked about writing the offer last week. I want to see people continue to have confidence in making real estate decisions. And that's going to be up to agents to lead them down that path. They've got to give the right advice, share the data, and walk them through, hey, this is how we do things. Here's what happens next, right? And lead them down that path so they can go get properties, or sell their home, and just continue to give strong advice.
Lisa, if you're the knowledge broker doing one thing this weekend, what would it be?
One thing this weekend, I think, like Tom said, putting out content around a lot of this and making sure that the content is educational and distributed to folks who are going to be able to see it. There's so much negative news right now, and it's our job and everybody's job to put out the truth in a way that's easy for consumers to understand and that helps them make informed and educated decisions.
Yeah, and going deep on the relationships. If I'm a knowledge broker, one thing for sure I need off of my plate is administrative work. So getting into the right office or team in your market is critical, or hiring a VA. And we use Virtue Desk. We've got a link down below. BAM23 to get $250 off of the startup fee, whether it's an administrative VA, marketing VA, prospecting VA, customer service. My entire transaction team, my entire TC team for the number one team in Connecticut is virtual assistants. Lisa uses VAs in her business. Tom uses VAs in his business. I use VAs in both BAM and in the one team up in Connecticut. And if you want to get those administrative tasks, you should, if you're thinking long-term, if you're thinking building a business, get them off your plate by hiring a virtual assistant. Use the link below, BAM23, for the discount code to get in with Virtue Desk and take those administrative tasks off your plate so you can do the things that we talk about on this pod each and every week. Lisa, go crush the senior tour.
I'm going to go rock some senior worlds.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm not going to say...
Think about like prune juice or anything?
I'm bringing lunch. I'm not going to say fuck, shit, ass, or any other four-letter words that might be offensive.
Try not to curse. And Bobby, if you could bleep those out for the YouTube algorithm, I'd appreciate that. Lisa just went down the entire alphabet there for you. Thanks. Way to go, Lisa.
George Carlin, dead from the grave, repeating his magic words.
I want a screenshot, Lisa. Now, after she threw me under the bus over the whole dress code debate, now she all of a sudden, she must have, the mothballs on that dress, must have been significant.
The fact that it still fits is impressive. So,
Oh, well, I mean, Lisa, you're right. It probably would have been, too big because you're in such great shape now. All you do is work out.
I'm a little fluffy. I need to lose like 5 or 10 pounds.
Oh, Jesus. Jesus. I remember, what did Lisa say to Tom? What did she say to us when she got seriously focused about her health and she became the fittest person in the mastermind? What did she say to us? She had some dramatic quote. She said, "If you guys don't ever tell me to get back in shape, if I get out of shape again, I'll never talk to you, or I'll kill you," or something like that.
Exactly. Yeah. Y'all have let me down.
She says it to me all the time. This is nothing new. So it's if I don't do this, according to Lisa Chinatti, we're all gonna be dead like 7 times over. So, and then she calls us. That's a 4th snort, by the way. This is a snort back 5th. There's 5. 5 snorts.
All right. Good luck, Lisa. Good luck, everybody, over the weekend. Thank you, Knowledge Brokers. We'll see you next week. Cinco de Mayo.